Major funding for A Taste of Louisiana with John Folse and Company is made possible in part by Zatarain's authentic New Orleans-style dinner mixes. Zatarain's, a good way to jazz up dinner and a real New Orleans original since 1889.
Louisiana. She's the exception and never the rule. She's a mystery that asks not to be solved, but simply to be experienced. Louisiana, where you can come as you are and leave different. Additional funding is provided by the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting and the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting.
Thank God, y'all, that there are those who appreciate buildings of historical significance and will do just about anything to preserve unique pieces from our past. In the bayou country town of Baldwin, Louisiana, was a West Indies-style plantation home built by Agricole Delaclaire Fuselier back in 1796. To put that year in perspective for you, George Washington was beginning his second term as president of our 13 colonies, and the Louisiana Purchase was still a decade or so away. In the late 1960s, a developer purchased a home in its acreage with plans to build a subdivision. Thanks to Randy Roan, a descendant of the original builder, the home escaped demolition by being placed on a barge and floated 10 miles or so up the Bayou Teche to its current location. Another great piece of Louisiana history saved for future generations to admire. I'm Chef John Folse. Welcome to a home that George Washington really could have slept in. Welcome to Jeanerette, Louisiana, and to Alice Plantation. Marsh-draped oaks are the perfect setting for Alice Plantation, resting on the banks of the Bayou Teche. Sprawled over 16 acres, this 2.5-story home is the perfect example of Louisiana's colonial architecture. The lower floor is constructed of brick, while the second story is of weathered board bousillage. 6 round plastered columns support a wide gallery where visitors can inhale a bayou breeze while sipping an ice cold mint julep. Y'all, this is South Louisiana's gorgeous Cajun country at its absolute best. Guests stroll past the inviting swimming pool through tropical gardens on winding brick walkways such as these, all half hidden by flowering shrubs and native foliage. The detached cottages will surely tempt you indoors for an afternoon siesta. Here, you'll be embraced by tastefully decorated accommodations. Alice Plantation marries a serene setting with bayou country ambiance. Visitors can view old newspaper articles capturing the Fuselier home in 1961 when it was loaded on a barge and floated 12 miles up the Bayou Teche. The dining area with its handmade brick walls and cypress beam ceiling is where guests can enjoy Rachel's bounteous breakfast. Historical records verify that these timbers were felled and hewn directly on the plantation site. And y'all, this brickwork, well, it was taken apart and remodeled at the time of the move. The glass-enclosed back gallery with its cypress staircase was once an open-air porch. The upstairs guest room boasts a lace-canopied 4-poster bed, and look here, y'all, a modern little convenience of yesterday preserved just for you. Go ahead, enjoy it. Rachel and Stan Rodgers have given the house character by contrasting heirloom items with modern accessories reflecting the area's unique history. At Alice Plantation, time stands still, and here is the perfect place for resting and reminiscing. This winding drive leads to a B&B where the sounds of the Bayou Teche will lull guests to sleep here in Cajun country, just as it has throughout the ages. Alice Plantation, y'all, what a gorgeous spot and a home with a history. First of all, it was being built during George Washington's second term. And second of all, Thomas Jefferson's term was rolling around when the home was finished. During the Civil War, the owners put all of the cattle and the pigs inside of the house so that the federal troops couldn't come in and confiscate all of those goods. And then eventually, by the end of the war, the Union Army occupied the home as a hospital. And then in the early 1970s, the home was loaded up on a barge and brought up the Bayou Teche to its present location. So I tell you what, when you talk about a home with a history that you can spend the night in, this is definitely one of them, and in one of the greatest food capitals of the world as well, the New Iberia Jeanerette area of Louisiana, the heart of Acadiana, as we call it. So one of the dishes that I want to prepare for you today is coming right out of that kitchen, the Rodgers kitchen at Alice Plantation, and it starts with this little vegetable here. You know, eggplant, even though it comes from India, I think it had its start there about 4,000 years ago. It was Thomas Jefferson, again, who decided to bring it to America. And all through the years, eggplant never really fell into favor, I think, with the American public, even though the Italians have loved it for so long. But with this dish I'm going to prepare for you today, hey, I have a feeling you're going to make this tonight. So let's come on over to my skillet, because I'm going to throw in a little olive oil, and I want to make a great marinara sauce, a great tomato sauce to put into my eggplant casserole, y'all. So I'm going to begin by adding all of the wonderful flavors of Louisiana married with Italy here. A little bit onion, celery, bell pepper. Onion, celery, bell pepper, and of course put a lot of color in here, a little red and yellow. A lot of garlic, naturally, because, hey, not only do I love garlic normally, I love garlic especially when I'm cooking eggplant or anything with olive oil. A lot of good garlic, and then some fresh Creole tomatoes right down into that skillet. Just take a look at the colors in here, y'all. When food looks this good, you know it's got to taste good. There's no doubt about it. And this even looks like the base of eggplant, right? So we're going to saute this around for just a second, getting that good flavor marrying together here with the olive oil. And olive oil is an ingredient. Don't put olive oil in a skillet if you don't want that skillet to shout Italian or Mediterranean or Spanish. That's when you put olive oil into a dish, because you will taste it after it's all said and done. Now, I'm going to throw a few little herbs and spices in here, a little basil, a little oregano. Hey, basil, oregano, great flavors for eggplant, y'all. Throw that in, and then the finished flavor here, tomato sauce, tomato puree. You can use tomato paste if you wanted to and just cut it with a little bit of water. But you can see that I'm adding fresh tomatoes for pulp, as well as all of these beautiful vegetables. And then you can flavor it with a little Creole seasoning, salt, pepper, hot sauce, however you would like to season. I'm going to put in a little Creole seasoning down into this tomato sauce, a little touch of salt. And a lot of people will put sugar in at this point too, you know, to cut that high acidity. If your tomatoes are high acid, go ahead and throw in a little tomato. Y'all finish it with parsley, green onions, and then let this tomato sauce sit here and simmer for a couple of minutes, about 15 minutes, and then you're ready to put the eggplant together. So let me show you, first of all, my eggplant platter, y'all. Take a look at this. First of all, the platter itself is edible almost. Can you imagine how gorgeous this is? I think I picked this up in Seattle, walking through some store. But here's the ingredient for the eggplant. Parmesan cheese, a little breadcrumbs to finish it, basil, oregano, and thyme, all of these nice flavors. And then to put it together, I need to first of all, get my eggplant ready. So I took the eggplant and sliced them into about half-inch circles, and you can see them on the pan here. And I ran them through the oven. After I brushed them with a little bit of olive oil, I ran them through the oven, 350 degrees for about, oh, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, just to brown them a little bit. And then I'm ready to put the casserole together. First, I have to whip a little cheese and eggs together. So I have a little cottage cheese, and you know, this is kind of like a lasagna. You know how you whip cottage cheese and eggs together for the filler of the lasagna? Well, the same thing here. So I'm going to whip this in, and then, again, a little bit seasoning, y'all. I'm going to put a little Creole seasoning into it, and a little spice. I'm going to heat it up with a little pepper and a little salt, and whisk that in. And you notice in my baking dish right next to the cutting board here, I have some eggplant, one layer already on my marinara sauce. I've had some marinara sauce made a little earlier, and I put a layer of eggplant down into it. Then, y'all, I have to layer some of this nice cheese here with the eggs, and it's going to hold the whole thing together. I think you have the idea of how this comes together. You want to smooth this out nicely, and you can flavor this with other cheese as well. Get creative here. Put a little Monterey Jack in here, or one of those nice flavors. Put herbs on top of that. A little basil, a little oregano. Go ahead and put the flavors down right inside of that. If you want to, throw a little Parmesan cheese at this point. A little breadcrumbs will be fine, too, to tighten it up, as we say. Just like that. You see all of those nice flavors going together? Now, y'all, come across with another layer of those eggplant, and just let them just kind of stay nice and tight. You can shingle them and come up with about 3 layers. That's what I like to do. Just kind of get them nice and tight and come up with about 3 layers of the eggplant, another good layer of the marinara sauce, nice, rich, and of course, hey, look, if you're in a hurry, use a canned version, y'all. I'm not gonna tell anybody. Go ahead and use the canned version if you want to. Now some more of the nice cheese just on top of it. And look, hey, there's no right or wrong to this dish, if you know what I mean. Just kind of keep on layering it, going up and down just exactly the way you see fit. Keep coming with the herbs and spices, y'all. Just a little bit more of them in there. Finish it with a little bit Creole seasoning. And then right on top, a bunch of that nice Parmesan cheese, and plenty of it, y'all. Plenty Parmesan cheese, and then the breadcrumbs. Gonna go right on top of that. And then you're gonna wanna put this into an oven, y'all. This is gonna go into an oven at about 350 degrees and bake for, oh, I guess around 20, 30 minutes just to melt that cheese. And y'all, take a look at this gorgeous casserole right here, filled with that eggplant, and of course, garnished with a nice basil leaf right on top of it. And you want to serve this nice and piping hot right out of the oven. But whenever you take these casseroles out of the oven, remember to let them sit for just a second, because all that cheese is still melted and it's kind of runny in there, and you don't want to get it running all over your table and your cutting board. Just kind of let it rest for just a second. It's going to be absolutely magnificent. Now, y'all, do I have a dish for you? You have to take a look at this little dish right here. I tell you, I don't know if you've ever had frog in the hole before, but frog in the hole is a great little breakfast item, and it could be an hors d'oeuvre item. I tell you, you could use this all types of different ways. I'm using quail eggs here, y'all. Take a look at this. And you can get quail eggs from a lot of the hatcheries, and they're a pretty little old egg anyway, you know, but they're also great to eat. And then I've taken just regular French bread or sliced bread. You could use whole wheat or rye or whatever, and cut the bread into 4 so you have a nice wedge, and then cut a hole out with your pastry cutter, and then you're ready to create this little breakfast dish. Or you could appetizer. Let's take a look at how we put it together. First, a little bit butter, not too much. You can put melted butter right on top of your little griddle here, and kind of move it around a little bit. Spread it around that griddle so it gets nice and coated on the bottom. And then, y'all, throw about, let me say 4? Yeah, let's go with 4 of them down in here. 4 of these little pieces of toast. They're going to toast right in this griddle here, just like that. And boy, you talk about a great dish to get kids involved in for breakfast. Now, the quail egg, you have to have a nice little hit, because this egg isn't as easy to break as a chicken egg. It has a tough membrane, so you want to break it right in the center. Doesn't that look like a little junior chicken egg, I call it, a little genuine. Again, just go ahead and break the membrane, hit it hard. Oh boy, I tell you. And pour it in there, shells and all, y'all. I feel like Julia Child here. There you go. Just drop it in there. Again, remember, it's hey, it's not the easiest egg in the world to break. Maybe you shouldn't get all the kids involved. Maybe you should do this yourself. And once that's all done, then you want to season it, okay? You want to season it with a little Creole seasoning, a little bit. There you go. Put that egg down in there. Now you see that the eggs are going to cook here very, very quickly. Put a little Creole seasoning on top of them and let them cook just as you do any other fried egg, just for a second, y'all. And then you go into the pan, and watch this, you just go under that egg and you flip it over one time, and you see how it's nice and toasted on the bottom? Well, then, of course, you flip it back quickly, and you kind of get that over-easy look. Let's take a look at this platter of frog in the holes that I already have all made up. And y'all, I'm going to put some hollandaise on top of it. Just a little touch of hollandaise like this. And you can come back and garnish with, parsley or any of those things. Y'all, this is great with a little caviar on top of it as an hors d'oeuvre. Now, I was lucky to be able to go out on the pool deck with the owner of this great house, Rachel Rodgers, and she shared with me her recipe for a fruit pizza. She said it was a breakfast dessert. I think it's great for the patio, especially in those summer months. Rachel, I was rummaging through your gorgeous dining room in there. I'm always rummaging through people's kitchens and dining rooms. And I found this, this pizza, this fruit pizza. Where did the recipe come from, and how do you use it here?
Well, John, the recipe I found out of a recipe book, and the way we use it here at Alice Plantation is for a breakfast dessert.
Yeah, you know, I saw it and I didn't know whether it was a dessert for breakfast or for the afternoon, but then I got to thinking it would probably be perfect out on the pool deck. It's so casual, or out in that gorgeous grounds for a picnic finish. Just a fantastic idea. Now, let's go ahead and show them how to do the dough. What did you do there?
Actually, I'm almost embarrassed. It's very simple. This is 20-ounce sugar cookie dough from the grocery store.
Oh, just a frozen dough.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Don't ever be embarrassed about convenience.
You just let it soften a little bit and then smooth it out.
Right.
And then bake it about 375 for about 10-12 minutes.
And look how nice. It's just one big cookie. You know, there's companies that's making millions of dollars doing just that and decorating them. Now, what about the filling or topping that goes with it?
Okay, the first thing you use is 8 ounces of cream cheese. You let it get really soft.
Right.
And whip it around. The next thing we add is a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar.
Powdered sugar. I'm going to dump that right in. You can blend it up real good. They just whip that nicely. Yeah, that's pretty easy. That sweetens up the cream cheese. Okay, and next?
The next thing we use is about 2 cups of whipped topping, just regular whipped topping from the freezer section of the grocery store.
Just again, I guess you could whip your own, but again, we're looking for convenience here, right?
Let's do it easy.
Just about anybody could do this for sure.
That's right.
Okay, and you just want to blend and whip it all together. Let me see, get the feel there. Yeah, nice and smooth. And this goes right on top of the cookie dough, right?
Right.
Let me see, I ought to be able to handle that. All right, just like that. Oh, boy, you know, this would be great for kids to get involved in too.
Really?
Huh? Just kind of pop it on there and use a spatula or whatever. Now, what about the fruit?
The fruit, you can use anything that's seasonal, just whatever's in the grocery store. This is just what we chose for today, but you can just make up your own dish.
So you just kind of spread it around and just kind of use the fruit, slice it up. Now, show me how you place it on there.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
There's no special way. You just do it however you want.
Oh, just kind of layered all around that. This is another great thing to get family, friends, and children involved in. So you just kind of go all around there. Yeah, I have the general idea there.
Kids would have a good time.
Yeah, now what about the glaze here? Tell me about that.
The glaze is made up of, it's a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of orange juice, 2 tablespoons of water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and a tablespoon and a half of cornstarch.
Now, what's the actual purpose of it? Why do you make it?
Probably, well, first of all, for the flavoring. That's what I would think, but probably to keep the fruit fresh.
Yeah, keep it from oxidizing.
Right.
Well, y'all, let me show you exactly what we're going to do with it. And Rachel, this pizza you have here is absolutely exquisite. Look how gorgeous the look is here, y'all, and so simple to do. Now, as a nurse, you'd probably tell me this is pretty healthy too, right?
Exactly, as long as you pick the fruit off of the cookie.
Oh yeah, leave the cookie. I think I'm going to just go ahead and splurge today and eat the cookie dough as well. Rachel, thanks so much for sharing this great recipe with us.
Thank you.
Very, very nice. I think that fruit pizza is the perfect breakfast dessert, y'all. And a couple other dishes that we discovered at Alice Plantation. Well, first of all, take a look at this. This is a spinach and lump crab quiche, y'all. About a pound of jumbo lump crab meat, Swiss and Colby cheese cooked at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. A little cream and herbs and spices, of course. And right next to that, my artichoke, hearts of artichoke, I should say, frittata. This is a baked omelet using a ½ pound of artichoke, 6 eggs, and then you want to kind of bake it at 350 degrees uncovered for about 25 minutes. Now, y'all, when you think of Cajun music, you think of the fiddle and the accordion, and there's no name more associated with the accordion in Louisiana than the Mouton family. And I was lucky enough to be able to sit on the banks of the Bayou State with Greg Mouton, who gave me a little lesson into the history of the accordion and why it's so important in Louisiana music. And he also played me a little ditty on that bayou bank. Why don't you join us out there? You're going to enjoy it. Greg, that really is a beautiful instrument, that Cajun accordion, but you come from a long family of musicians, don't you?
Yes, my grandfather was an accordion player. He played house dances on my mother's side. And some of my uncles also played accordion, but I guess the most important musician in my family to me was John Mouton, which was known for his accordion making and music, known by everybody. Right. And also his stepfather was also well known as Amadé Bro, which has recently been given the credit for writing the original Jolie Blanc, the Cajun national anthem.
Now, the Jolie Blanc, everybody who knows Cajun music knows Jolie Blanc. Now, when did you first realize that you were interested in playing the accordion?
Well, when I was real young, I guess around 9 or 10, I started playing with the accordions that we had at the house, you know, and then kind of lost interest over time. And one time when I got older, I went into a Cajun dance hall that we'd went to hundreds of times as a kid and looked around, and it brought back memories. And right there that weekend I went and hunted down Sean, and everybody knew who he was, so I went and hunted him down and got back into playing and started working with him with his failing health. And,
right, and he taught you how to actually play the accordion.
Sure.
How did the accordion evolve, well, I guess like the fiddle, into the premier instrument of Cajun music?
Well, when these accordions were brought over here by the Germans in the late 1800s, and they started being played by guys like Amadé Bro and Ira Lejeune. And soon, it didn't take long for these guys to get really professional sounding on these accordions, and it didn't take very long for them to become the center of the attention because they were so loud. The volume was real high on these accordions.
They didn't need microphones and all that kind of stuff. You know, I can imagine sitting on the front porch of a Cajun cabin and whip out a couple of these accordions and start playing. That sound permeates the swamp. It didn't take long to draw a crowd. Huh?
No, it didn't.
Now, what makes the Mouton accordion stand out?
Well, these accordions that I build, I learned completely from Sean, and the tuning is, it was shown by Sean to me, and so that's a big difference. And also, too, I put my heart and soul into every one of these instruments. I still build them one at a time, completely handmade from scratch.
How long does it take to build one of those?
Well, hour for hour, I really couldn't say, but it probably around 3 months from the time somebody orders one till the time they get it. It usually takes about 3 months.
Now, I know that many of the great Cajun musicians stand in line to get one of those right there. What would I expect to pay for a Mouton accordion?
Well, they start out at about $1,100.
Start out. I want to ask you where it ends.
Well,
Greg, why don't you give us a little rendition of what Cajun music sounds like on a Mouton accordion?
All right, we can do that.
Well, that's a beautiful instrument right there. Well, y'all, that's what Cajun music sounds like on an accordion, and no matter what B&B you're staying at in the Bayou State, that sound isn't that far away. I'm Chef John Folse, and I want to thank you for stopping by as we continue to visit the bed and breakfasts of the Bayou State and cook up more great Taste of Louisiana.
To learn more about A Taste of Louisiana with Chef John Folse and Company, visit PBS online at the internet address on your screen. Hot beignets and warm boudoirs by Chef John Folse is available for $29.95. This companion book to the series features over 150 recipes. To order, call 1-800-973-7246 or write to the address on your screen.
Major funding for A Taste of Louisiana with John Folse and Company is made possible in part by Zatarain's authentic New Orleans-style dinner mixes. Zatarain's, a good way to jazz up dinner and a real New Orleans original since 1889.
Louisiana. She's the exception and never the rule. She's a mystery that asks not to be solved, but simply to be experienced. Louisiana, where you can come as you are and leave different. Additional funding is provided by the Friends of Louisiana Public Broadcasting and the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting.